Hello and welcome. If you have noticed lately, there have been a bunch of different slicers that have been released in Power BI. And even in this month's Power BI desktop update, text filter was updated. And some of these filters, like text filters and list filters and button filters, or I should call them slicers, are in preview. And also in this month's release, super filter was released as well. So do we need all these different kinds of slicers? Are there any benefits to these? So let's check it out. Now, as I mentioned, some of these are preview features, so you need to enable these in your by going to your settings and preview features. All right, let's start with the tile slicer. So let me select that and add a product name to it. Now, as the name indicates, this slicer basically is the only option that's available in terms of formatting is setting it up as a tile. We cannot make it a drop down or a radio button or anything like that. It has to be of type tile, and all the other formatting options are very similar. You can also configure the buttons layout and so forth, but otherwise it's basically a regular slicer which shows up as a tile. Now, if I switch this into a text slicer, so let me make that a text slicer and let me add a visual below here so we can see the output of using the text. So basically, I have product sales by product name, a visual here, and then here I can using the slicer, the text slicer. Let's format the input text a little bit here. Apply text background, make that a little white so we can all see it here. So let's say I want to look at the any product name with the word echo in it. It does search. Let me again change the format of the background. Let me make that black. There you go. I think that's better. Okay. So now if you see the bottom, all the product names in my visual is echo. And then I can also select this and make it, if I go to slicer settings, I can say accept multiple values. Now I can type the word eco and then follow it up. Maybe I want bamboo and so forth. So if you see some of the other products with the word bamboo or the word eco show up in my output, but I need to have a secondary visual where I can see the results of my search. The results of my search does not show up in the slicer itself. But again, this is a visual that is in preview, so I'm sure things will evolve over time. But right now, that's how this particular slicer works. And the last option here is the list slicer. So if I change this to a list, so it basically shows up as a list. And this particular list slicer supports hierarchy. So whereas both the tile and the text slicer does not support hierarchy currently, whereas the list slicer does support it. And we can also go to slicer settings. Right now, by default, it's single select. You can make it as a multi-select and select multiple values. And there's a few other configuration options available as well. But if I change this to the regular slicer or the slicer that is not in preview, which has been there forever, the functionality is pretty much the same, right? I can still do the hierarchy. But if I go to slicer settings, I can make this a vertical list. I can make it a drop down, right? And then if I have only a single attribute, it also lets me make it a tile. So basically, I have all the options that are available in the tile and list slicer in my earlier, like the default slicer that's available. So I'm not sure how the tile and list slicer will evolve over time. But right now it seems like a couple of individual functionalities have been stripped out and a new visual has been created out of it, right? So let's see how it goes. But right now, as of now, these are in preview. It's nothing. These slicers are not something I would be using because it's not adding any value for me at this point. Now, of course, the text slicer is interesting, but let me show you this super filter, which is by InfoRiver. You can get that by going into get more visuals and downloading it. It's free. It's a free visual. So let me switch to this. Now, if I go into super filter again, this provides the option of having a hierarchy. So I can create a hierarchy. You see the values show up as a hierarchy. Now that's category, subcategory, and product name. And I can also search here. So I can search the word eco. Now any categories, subcategories, and product names with the word eco show up. I can also put a comma and search by the word bamboo. So now category doesn't have bamboo, but subcategory does. So it does provide me the option to search across the hierarchy if I choose to. Also, I can go here and select a particular level of the hierarchy and search only that particular level by using a comma separated field as well. Now, this also provides the ability to have some pre-selected filters or preset filters. So let's say your user group always likes to select by a certain criteria. You can set those so they can use those pre-selected filter and not have to individually check and uncheck different options. And I'll point you to a video where I go into detail with these features as well. Now, apart from this, you also get the option to style each of these individual levels of the hierarchy. So it's in drop down. I can go to category, and maybe let's say if I select this, I can select the category level of the hierarchy to be a single select or multi-select, select all feature. And again, I'll point you to another video where I go into detail about configuring each of these. But basically the idea is the super filter provides you a lot more options out of the box, right? Compared to the other slicers that we saw earlier. Now, one of the best features that I like is this pop-up mode, especially with our slicers taking a lot of room on our visual. This is a very good feature where I can use the pop-up mode. Now I can minimize the slicer and then I can just pop it out and then apply the different selections that I want. Click OK, and then my visuals will work fine. This will take minimal space. So that I think is the best feature of this super filter. Right. And there's a lot more features. Super filter, basically, super filter goes against what Microsoft or Power BI desktop slicers are doing. Now, the Power BI team is taking away individual features and creating different visuals, whereas in the super filter, a bunch of different functionality is added to a single filter. So there is a lot of functionality in terms of date, how you can filter dates and so forth. Again, I point you to my earlier videos, which walks you in detail. So I think, in my opinion, at least for now, I'm either going to stick with the super filter for all my slicer capabilities, or I'm going to use the slicer that's available out of the box, not the ones in preview right now. So that's kind of what I wanted to share in this video. Do leave your thoughts, what you think about this slicer war or multiple slicers that are out there. And as always, if you've got any questions, reach out to us, obviance.com.